I'm talking to Julian Stodd, winner of the 2016 Colin Corder Award. Julian, first of all, huge congratulations.
Thank you very much. It was a very big surprise. So,
Good, it's supposed to be a surprise.
Well, very, very honoured and flattered.
Two or three little simple questions. The first one is, in your acceptance speech, you talked about the power of learning to build equality.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a serious claim? You really think that it has the power to change organisations in that dramatic way?
I think that's right. I mean, in my view, in the social age, we're bringing social and formal spaces together. And we're relying increasingly on our communities to help us perform better as individuals and as organisations. And if we're only listening or empowering part of those communities, if we're not truly equal within those communities, we can never hear all the voices, and we can never be truly effective. So, I strongly believe it's the fight of our time is to fight for equality within our organisations, especially in global organisations, which cross legal, moral, ethical, as well as geographical boundaries.
So it's like the democratisation, really, using learning to create democratic environments where all voices can be heard. Is that what you're saying?
I think that's right. I think the technology is what democratises the spaces. So because we can communicate so easily, we've levelled the power between organisations and individuals. And in parallel to that, we've seen learning itself changing. So learning used to be formal, abstract stories done to individuals. In a model of social learning, the organisation creates a space, but people come together to make sense of it, to have these conversations in small communities and to share those stories out, that tacit tribal knowledge within the organisation. So learning is not incidental to an organisation. In the future organisation, it will permeate everywhere. It will be distributed throughout.
From incidental to fundamental.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, a true learning organisation.
Yeah. What would you say to someone who's listening to you and thinking, I kind of get that, but I have no idea where I start?
It's all about learning to experiment. So moving from just having learning spaces and performance spaces to having learning, rehearsal and prototyping and performance spaces. And so start small. Claim a space if you're not given one. Decide what risk you can take on and do something for 6 weeks and then share the learning and claim the permission to do the next step. So it's a continuous process of iteration, and it's through those small steps that we change organisations. The book I'm just finishing at the moment about dynamic change in an organisation talks about how, to make those big journeys, we have to take the small steps, because organisations aren't crippled by one or two factors. They're crippled by the friction in the system, the sand in the gears that permeates throughout. And only by changing the culture of the organisation, becoming a true learning organisation, can you release that potential? Can you get from sort of good to absolutely excellent?
It's not about learning as courses, it's learning as a profound part of the entire working environment.
I think so.
It's a kind of oil as well, almost, to keep up your machine analogy.
It is. I think in the old world, knowledge gave you power, and the organisation gave you position and hierarchical authority. In the new world, high social capital and social leadership skills, your ability to operate within these communities, to be effective, to help other people to be effective. The humility of leadership is what gives you power, both in formal spaces and social spaces, because crucially, the organisation controls the formal side of the story, but it's only half the story, and it's giving a diminishing return. It's the communities and individuals that control the social side of the story, and that's what will give us an edge. And whilst formal organisations can try to control social spaces, they can never truly stop those stories. And social stories and communities can always and fully subvert formal hierarchies. So we have to engage in both spaces.
And we know that from just looking at a newspaper.
Absolutely.
What little bits of information that leak out of organisations you can't control.
It's the democratisation of publishing, the devolution and democratisation of creativity, and the amplification effects of social communities.
Yes.
Mean that it's not just a broadcast model. Shouting loud isn't about having money and power behind you. It's about having compelling stories that spread.
Well, Julian, thank you very much for talking to me. Long may you continue to do what you do.
It's only the start. Thank you, Nigel.
Only the start.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.